Don't you worry about that.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
So I actually came to an Airlift Tanker Association to look for a job.
Okay.
And I was a AMC navigator at the time, and they were getting rid of navigators from their aircraft.
Okay.
And so they kind of said, hey, we don't really know what to do with you. You should probably go try to look for a job.
Which is a scary proposition. You
Very
come to
scary.
a conference, they're like, hey, not saying that you don't have a job, but maybe
Yeah.
start looking.
Yeah.
Get your resume together.
Yeah, like,
Right.
I know we should be helping you with this, but like, this
Were
is
you
hard.
like a young captain at that time?
I was a young captain.
Okay,
very
yeah,
young.
that seems about right.
Yep. I guess a little older. I felt young at least. But so I came to ATA. My husband and I were dual mil. He's a pilot, I'm a nav, and we had flown different planes.
Okay.
So we were trying to get to the same aircraft, or at least the same base, so we could keep living together. So we came to ATA and sat down. Kind of walked around. I was looking at CRG, CRW opportunities, because I was like, a lot of navs seem to go that way.
Sure.
We ended up at the ATA banquet, and we're sitting next to this guy, had like a glass or two of wine. We're BSing, you know.
A couple of bowls of loudmouth soup. It really just
Yep.
like smooths everything over and really helps get you to where you need to be.
It does.
It has diminishing returns, however, so buyer beware. But
Yeah,
right,
I'm
right.
a really good pool player until about 4 beers, 3 beers.
I love how you use. I was going to use
Yeah.
darts as my example,
Perfect.
but pool darts, it's exactly in the same lane. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm talking to this guy. He's got a lot of embellishments, but I've been in a community that didn't really have senior enlisted. I was at CISO training, navigator training, teaching at that point, and we're talking, and he casually, like, kind of mentions, well, I threw a pitch out at Yankee Stadium, no big deal. I was like, who are you? And he goes, I'm the command chief for AFSOC. And I was like, oh.
Who was it that was it, Greg Smith?
Matt Caruso.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And you could tell he was like, oh, we're having a good time. He was afraid I was going to, like, lock up. And in true fashion, both my husband and I were like, oh, we wanted to do AFSOC, but we're too old.
Sure.
And he was like, are you guys any good? And we're like, we're all right, you know. He's like, you're not too old. And so fast forward, here we are. That was 2015. And so,
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And honestly, looked back a couple times. I'm like, if we had not ended up at that table, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, ma'am, I'm going to Tarantino it a little bit.
Yeah?
Because we started in the middle of this one, and I want to take it all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
Thanks for everybody for joining us. I'm here with Lieutenant Colonel Meghan O'Rourke from AFSOC. She's got a great story, which we heard a part of. We figured out exactly how she got to the seat. Take me all the way back to the beginning. Tell me about what actually got you into the Air Force. When did you decide that you wanted to serve?
So if there's one thing I've learned is if you don't grow up with military members, there's got to be a moment where you're introduced to the military, right? So for me, I went to my aunt's 50th birthday party. We were surprising her. And my aunt and uncle worked at the Air Force Academy. And so we went to meet my uncle, so we didn't get to the house and like ruin the surprise. And I was a junior in high school, and I said, wow, this school's pretty impressive. And my dad was like, yes, it's pretty.
Now listen, it's a beautiful campus.
Yep.
That's how they get you.
It is.
That beautiful campus tucked into the Colorado Rockies, stunning in Colorado
Lots
Springs.
of freedom there.
Lots of freedom.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of freedom day in, day out.
Well, and I was, I'm fairly frugal, and I was worried about paying for college, and I was like, this school's really cool. Post 9/11, had a high desire to fight back, and my country had been attacked, and you combine that with free education, and I was in. It also helped. My dad told me, honey, the school's really hard to get into. So I think it was reverse psychology, because he never was one to belittle, he was always very empowering. So I think he was like, free school, we could get behind this.
But it's a real question of what came first, the chicken or the egg, because now we find you in AFSOC, and that is a trait that runs through AFSOC, is that, maybe call it free spirit, maybe independence, but it's just that little bit of FU.
Yeah.
It's that little bit of you challenge me to do, is it hard to get in? We talk to so many people that respond to, this is tough, it's a challenge, and I want to try to do it.
Yeah.
So you got into the academy.
Yep.
You were running across Terrazzo every day, little book bag in your hand. We just went to the academy for a reunion. So
that's awesome.
Fantastic. So it was good. What year graduate were you?
I'm a 2008 grad, which
2008,
I officially realized I'm like, man, I'm getting old.
You and me both, sister.
Yeah.
You and me both. We're okay with it.
Yeah.
So when you got out of the academy, like, what did you track to? Because everybody wants to go to the academy to fly.
Yes. To be honest, I didn't. It's not that I ever thought women couldn't fly. It just never occurred to me that was an option.
Sure.
And so I actually went to pilot training first. And I joke that the first thing I ever did in the Air Force was actually fail.
Nice.
Nice. So I watched out pilot training, but met my husband, so it was meant to be.
Sure.
So I fought, and to be honest, I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. Things had always kind of come easier to me. I could kind of skate by, and in hindsight especially, I knew how to work, but I didn't know how to work hard.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to be passionate, like truly passionate about something. And so at that point, I was like, oh man, this is serious. It's really my first time failing in life.
Gives you perspective, right? You're like, wow, that's a wake-up call.
It gets you hungry. And so I went to NAV. I was lucky. I fought to get to NAV training because I was like, I don't want to be a missileer. Like great things, you can do great things as a missileer.
But you could also work in Minot for 75% of your adult life.
And I was dating a pilot that I kind of liked, and so
I want to see where this thing's going. Right? Yeah, right.
And so I went to San Antonio and did NAV school. And I worked really, really hard, and I was in the top third of my class, but we only dropped one AFSOC aircraft. And I was number 3. And so I ended up flying slicks for a while at Pope Air Force Base at the time.
Sure.
And then because that pilot I told you I thought was pretty cool, I ended up marrying him, but he was flying KC-10s.
Okay.
And so with AMC bases, C-130 bases and KC-10 bases aren't together.
Okay.
So unless I was to come fully out of the aircraft, which I didn't want to do, I would have to either cross-train or go do something else. So we were lucky we got stationed at Pensacola to teach Combat Systems Officer Training, or CISO training. And we did that for 4 years, and we had our first kid there, actually.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah.
The beautiful Panhandle.
Yep.
What other better place on the face of the planet than the free state of Florida?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is July is not my favorite time between Taurus and 90-degree humidity. The rest of the time, it's great.
Right, yeah. So, find me in the winter, because that is the perfect. The winters in the Panhandle are the best.
October and November is great.
Right, yeah. So all of that journey leads you up. You have the trials and tribulations of failing when we first get into the academy and learning those lessons that we need to learn.
Yep.
And then we finally get to the watershed moment of you're getting ready to leave Pensacola and you're starting to get ready to do a different thing. And I assume we're going to fast forward a little bit to that 2015 time frame where for the first time you're like, wait a second, things are starting to line up where my husband could be an AFSOC, I could be an AFSOC, we could start doing the right thing. How did that all sort of unfold after that initial conversation?
So to give you an idea, when we talk about part of the reason AFSOC's so special is because it is hard. And sometimes it's hard to get into because of that, and it takes perseverance. And so we didn't actually get into Kirtland for training until the fall of 2017. Some of that was timing, some of that we had a kid. And so not wanting to move or start training while pregnant. And that's totally perfect. But so it took about a year and a half. Our assignments were turned on, turned off, turned back on. I did say, hey, I bring a pilot. And they said, okay, I guess we'll take you.
Exactly, right, yeah. Those Kirtland boys in the land of manana and the beautiful Duke City of Albuquerque. We're just like, wait, you're bringing a pilot with you? Come on in, we got some green chili for you. Come have a drink at Marble Brewing.
You won't go airlines, Willie.
No, exactly, right, yeah. We like your good deal that you're going to actually keep them inside of there. How'd you like your time in Kirtland?
I loved it. We had a house up against the mountains, so we would take our kid in a backpack.
East Mountains, West Mountains, where?
We were on the West Mountains.
Yeah, perfect.
The beautiful sandias.
Beautiful sandias. That means watermelon in Spanish.
It does.
It does,
and if you see them set, it makes sense.
It totally makes sense. So I lived there during the pipeline because that's obviously where we trained.
That's true.
You and I were there. We shared the same base at the same time. I was at the Kirtland Schoolhouse until 2000.
You may have jumped out of my plane.
I think I probably have jumped out of your plane a couple times.
That's the story we're going to tell at least.
100%. We don't usually do selective editing, but in this case, we're going to talk about the time that I was JMing out of your plane. It was great. We saved the world. Fantastic. Everything worked out great.
We took on Zuni and Central.
100%. No, we did not.
No, we did not.
To all my homies on Zuni and Central, I did not just talk. That's true. That's like the Wyoming and Central. Ooh,
that's true. Okay, I revoke what I said.
I'm more of a Northwest guy.
Yeah.
Catch me at Marble West Side.
Yeah, we need a stop tape moment.
Right. So timing at Kirtland worked out. You got there in 2017. What was the next step?
So then we went to Cannon.
Beautiful. Right down the road, 3.5 hours away. Just great.
Which is, by the way, how they get you. They say, joint spouse, dual mill, want to go AFSOC? I've got a good deal for you.
Boy, do I ever.
But as much as, I get tired because, we want to either say, oh, Canon's wonderful or Canon's the worst. Canon's Canon.
It's like you have to pick a team on that one.
Yeah.
I have so many friends that I had a good friend of mine that refused to talk bad about any place. He was like, listen, the same thing has been said about Canon is everywhere. Okay, I don't like it. Smells like cow poop. It's windy. It's hot. It's out in the middle of nowhere. You got to drive to Lubbock just to fly out for TDYs. He's like, got it. I'm going to complain about something new.
Yeah.
And after I don't complain about all the same things, guess what? I don't have much to complain about.
It's what I've said this over and over. One, I was there during COVID. So my friends who were in Mildenhall and Kadena were expecting to travel all around those areas, and they were in lockdown.
Sure.
I wasn't going to leave my house anyways. And so
right.
I just had to wear a mask.
What was I going to go to the one Fridays that they just put in? Like, you guys just got a Target. Like, I'm not going anywhere.
And so, but I mean, to be perfectly candid, our community is tight there.
Right.
Because the Clovis community is very supportive, but it's not very big. And so if you're not into rural, you're probably not going to have the best time unless you force yourself to go check out things like house parties or force the squadron to have events where they bond, And so we did that for 3 years. We did deployments, we did some contingency response type stuff. And I got to do a lot of really cool things. It's why I came to AFSOC. Like, I joked after leaving Canon, I was like, if I got out today, I would feel like I did what I was meant to do in the Air Force.
It's intoxicating, isn't it?
It is.
The first time you touch that mission and you're like, I did that.
Yeah.
Like, I made this impact. I can tell you exactly, this was the bad situation before we got called in.
Yes.
And now this is the better situation now.
Yep.
That is one of the it's the siren song of AFSOC. It's wanting to be able to be in a position to make that difference.
Absolutely.
That I think makes AFSOC different than all of the other commands.
Yeah, we're pretty special, and I love the fact we're small.
Right.
MC-130s, there's, only, 5 locations we're at. And there's not a time that I go to a place that I don't already know somebody. Mm-hmm. And if I'm about to hire somebody new into my unit or anything like that.
It's 1 degree of separation.
It is.
It's one phone call to be like, hey, do you know this person? You're like, 100%. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Yep.
You'll find out in one phone call.
Yep, absolutely. Which I love. So.
Yeah. And it's that small, tight-knit community, too, because those people become your best friends. They become your family. They become the people that check on your house and check on your kids and check on...
They mow the lawn.
They bring your mail in from doing whatever. They make sure that your wife is okay on a bad day or that your husband is okay on a bad day. Like, those are the things that really bring us together and then keep you there, because it's not easy. While AFSOC, I get it, it's the best of the best. But it's also the middest of the mid.
Yeah.
To quote, what the kids are saying. It's a lot of living in tents. It's a lot of being deployed. It's a lot of being away from your kids and missing those days. What keeps you in AFSOC as you take on this new position now, which we'll talk about next?
Honestly, couldn't really make me leave at this point. And it's, I mean, they will someday, I'm sure.
I'm an 05, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah,
just flag real quick. Yeah.
You know who I work for. He can tell me I can go somewhere, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
No, I just like the people, and I like the mission, and what I do feels important. And also, MC-130s are great. We do everything.
Right.
I can go to a place totally blacked out and land, take off, and nobody really even knows we were there. I can refuel helicopters. I can do personnel drops at, high altitudes or low altitudes, or any kind of airdrops. It's pretty sweet. So that's part of it. But the people really are pretty awesome, and they're pretty special.
They really are. And because people don't it's something that's intuitive that sometimes people overlook, but if something is hard, if something is challenging, not everybody tries out for it.
Yep.
Because they know that it is a challenging thing to do, and for their own reasons they decide. But what you get, especially when we're talking about, specifically from like being a PJ or being a combat controller, about, being somebody that has volunteered over and over and over again for something that they might fail at.
Yeah.
You get a better brand of human on the back end of that pipeline. And I think AFSOC you already do. Yes.
Yes. And I'm a huge believer in, if you come out of failure as a better person, like that failure opportunity is huge and often has massive, what calls momentum to drive you forward. And you have to take that failure, not allow it to like eat you up, but allow it to change you, and you can debrief yourself and then be better the next day because of it. So.
From the very beginning, when you showed up to that Air Force Academy, to that first failure where you didn't exactly get what you wanted out of it, to learning all of those lessons, that all brings us kind of to where we are now. And you've got the opportunity to fail again.
I do.
So tell us about that.
It's a big opportunity.
There's always. People that say that failure isn't an option have never tried anything hard in their life.
That's true.
I will tell you right away, it's always
an
option.
Failure can result in successes if you take it the right way. So. So a few months ago, our AFSOC commander, Lieutenant General Barnfine, found me and said, "Megan, I have an opportunity for you." And first thought
whenever your boss says that, is you're like, here we go, an opportunity. Oh,
opportunity
tight.
Usually means more work.
Guess what? I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's like the meme. Oh no, I'm in danger.
Yeah. Or the one where the dog's in the fire. It's like, it's fine.
Oh no, it's fine. Everything's fine. Sure.
And I said, "Okay, sir." He's like, "Find me Monday." And I was like, "Okay." And so the whole weekend, I was left thinking, like, what is this? What's this?
Oh, no, the principal called you down to the office, but it's not for a whole day. That's not good.
Yeah, and luckily somebody called me. One of my mentors called and was like, "Hey, do you know what this is about?" I said, "No." And he was like, "Hey, he's going to ask you to stand up a new unit." So we're standing up an outreach unit within AFSOC. And the first question I get is, "Cool, what is that?" So we're charged with going out and inspiring young Americans to join the military, the Air Force, and ultimately come in and be air commandos. We believe that if we can go out and educate people on our cool missions and our even cooler people, and kind of show them our cool gear, that aha moment that I talked about when I showed up to the Air Force Academy, that change in my life. Like, you never know when that's going to occur. And so if we go out and we just talk with people, you never know who's like, I thought about joining, but I was going to go fly fighters. And then you told me about MC-130s. Or I am a maintenance troop and I didn't even know that was the mission for, like, there's an Air Force Special Operations. I just knew there was the Air Force. So we're charged with that. And General Barnfine's got a lot of energy behind this. He's truly passionate about it, and he sees us as a way to assist the Air Force in its grander efforts. And today, during Chief Bass's speech, she talked about, hey, everyone's an advocate, everyone's a recruiter.
Sure.
And our whole thing is every air commander has a story to tell.
Right.
And we're not very good at telling our story. We're quiet professionals. We're pretty humble, unless you get a few beers in us, then, maybe a little less so. But we don't like to tell our own stories.
Right.
I just did the mission, right? Like, that's what I'm trained to do, and that's what's expected. But we are encouraging our air commanders to go out and tell their story. Because right now, a lot of people don't necessarily know what the military really is. They know what the news tells them, but they have not talked to us or people like you and said, like, what was your military service actually like?
Yeah.
And so we're here to kind of counteract some of that and tell people what it really is like.
The truth is like a lion. You just have to set it free. It doesn't need to defend itself.
Yeah, I love it.
A lot of people have these misconceptions about what we do, and they see the, hyper politicized views of a certain amount of meme pages and this, that, or the other. And to be honest with you, it's just a bunch of people like us sitting around and talking. The difference between being a quiet professional and a silent professional is a quiet professional can honor their service, and a silent professional, their career field dies off in about 2 generations.
I love that.
Because we don't understand that the first people to touch Captain Phillips, I am the captain now, that was a pararescue and a combat controller.
Yep.
H. Kaya, the evacuation, not only was it mobility airmen that we're working with here, but it was pilots and maintainers inside of AFSOC and abroad. And those stories are important to tell.
Don't forget our daggers and our ground, like, we had so many people there with us doing those types of missions.
Absolutely, and especially when you're talking, I love it when I bring folks into the SDS and I say, oh, that's cool. Yep. You're a squadron aircrew resource advisor. Oh, that's awesome. You want to learn how to shoot a machine gun and drive a boat and drive a tactical vehicle? They're like, well, for what? They're like, because this is the mission that we need you to do. The breadth and depth of skill set is immense inside of AFSOC.
Yep.
Colonel, I appreciate you coming on. It's great. Everybody, check this one out on everywhere that we do. Go follow onesready.com. We will make sure to tag all of the stuff that we have.
Awesome.
Lieutenant Colonel Meghan O'Rourke, thanks for coming on. Good luck. We obviously connect with the mission, and we're always here to help, so you let us know anytime you want to come on.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thanks.